everyone and welcome to the first YouTube video on the CSGOHowl YouTube channel. If you don't know what CSGOHowl is a great website which compares and shows you all the good CSGO gambling sites and gives you discount codes to each website. So if you're interested in CSGO gambling, make sure to check out CSGOHowl, first link in the video description. Alright guys, so today we're gonna take a look at the CSGOHowl official Steam account inventory that we have acquired over the past couple of months, and we're gonna take you through each knife and gonna show you the value of each knife, and I hope you enjoy it. Alright guys, so the first knife that we have is a M9 Bayonet Marble Fade factory new. As you can see, it has not the greatest of floats, so you can see a little scratches here and there, but it's still a great knife which costs around $800. So the next knife that we have is a flip knife mini Millwear Crimson Web, which costs around $250. As you can see, it has a great float, no scratches at all, and actually a great knife to play with. So the next knife, which I personally don't like at all, is a Bowie Knife Doppler factory new, which costs around $170. I really don't like the animations and the style of the Bowie knife at all. The next knife that we have is a Bayonet Doppler factory new. I don't know exactly which float this is. It's still a decent knife which costs around $270. The next knife that we have is a Butterfly Knight. As you can see, it has a lot of scratches. It's a field tested knife and it costs $220, which is obviously because butterfly knives are very sought after at the moment and they're very high in price, and we have a couple more butterflies to show you in this collection. So the next knife that we have is a M9 Bayonet Gamma Doppler, which is factory new, and it costs around $420. I'm personally not that big of a fan of the Gamma Dopplers because I like the normal Dopplers a bit more, except the Emerald. If you have the Emerald Gamma Doppler, this is a great knife, and yeah, as you can see, the float is also not that great. It has a couple of scratches. Yeah. The next knife that we have is probably one of the worst knife in the collections. It's a M9 Bayonet Boreal Forest in field tested, which costs around $120, so it's actually a pretty cheap knife if you need a M9 Bayonet. If you don't care about the skin, if you just want the animation, make sure to check out this knife. I think it's one of the cheapest ones out there. And yeah, the next knife that we have is a very underrated knife. It's a Bayonet Autotronic. It's a mini Millwear knife, but I don't think you can even see a difference between mini Millwear and a factory new with the Autotronic skins. This knife costs around $340. It's a good knife in my opinion. It looks decent. And yeah, the next knife that we have is another Butterfly. It's a Butterfly Ultraviolet, also field tested, so you can see the scratches all over the place. This knife costs around $290, so it's a bit cheaper than the Bayonet before. Still a great knife, especially the butterfly animation. I think you can't beat that animation. It's one of the best knives in the game. The next knife that we have is a M9 Bayonet Doppler Phase 3 factory new, which costs around $370. It has a couple of scratches, but I think it looks better than the Marble Fade that we have before, which has more scratches than this one, and it has a better float. Yeah. Great knife. Alright guys, the next knife that we have is a Karambit Doppler factory new, which costs around $400. This is a great knife. I really like it. It looks a bit like a black pearl with a red top. Yeah, it's a great knife. So the next knife is actually one of my favorites, and I have that one as a play skin on my main account. It's a Butterfly Fade, which costs around $830. As you can see, it doesn't have the greatest of fades. It's mainly golden or yellow, however you want to call it, with a little red tip on it. And the next knife that we have is another Butterfly Fade, which has a bit better fade, I guess, but still not the greatest. It doesn't have that much of purple, as you can see. So yeah, the more fade, the better fade you have, the more expensive the knife is. So those knives are gonna be like around $800 to $900. Alright guys, so let's move on with one skin that I'm gonna show you, which is not a knife, which is the Awp Medusa, which is factory new and costs around $2,400. As you can see, it's a beautiful skin. I think it's one of my favorite AWP skins. I think it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit more subtle than the Dragon Lore, and yeah, I like the color blue. This is definitely a beautiful skin. Yeah, like I said, it's factory new, costs you around $2,400, a very rare AWP skin. So the next knives we're gonna show you are a couple Tiger Tooth knives. We have the Tiger Tooth gut knife, factory new, which costs around $90. It doesn't have a good float at all, but we at CSGOHowl, as you can see, our color scheme is yellow, so we try to acquire every Tiger Tooth knife, so we have all of them in the collection. The next knife is a Shatter Dagger Tiger Tooth, which is also, yeah, very, very cheap. It costs around $90, just like the gut knife, so not expensive at all if you're looking for cheap knives. And yeah, the next knife is a Huntsman Tiger Tooth, factory new as well. As you can see, it has a great float and costs around $150, also not that expensive. Alright guys, the next knife is a Ursus knife, Tiger Tooth. In my opinion, one of the worst new knives they patched into the game. Doesn't have a good animation at all, but it's still pretty expensive, costs around $220. So yeah. The next knife is another Butterfly Crimson Web field tested, which costs around $350. As you can see, it doesn't have a good float. It looks pretty beat up, but it's still a good knife to play. Not that cheap because it's a butterfly, but still a good knife. The next knife is a Falchion Tiger Tooth, costs around $120. I guess this is a good price for a knife. I don't like the animation of the Falchion knife that much, but it's still a good knife to play. And yeah, the next knife that we have is a Talon knife, a Talon Tiger Tooth, factory new, which costs around $370. This is like kind of the successor to the Karambit knife. Even though I like the Karambit knife way more, this is like, kind of does look the same and kind of has the same animation, I guess. But I still like the Karambit a little bit more. So, alright, we're going to the next knife, which is a Bayonet Crimson Web Millwear, which costs around $300. As you can see, it's not a good float at all. Even though it's a minimal wear, you can see the scratches all over the knife. This is kind of normal with Crimson Web knives. And yeah, we're gonna move on to the next knife, which is a Bayonet Slaughter, which costs around $300. This is a factory new one, and this is, in my opinion, a very underrated skin, a great skin to play, especially on the Bayonet. I don't think this has a specific pattern, so it's not gonna be like the most expensive knife. Yeah, the next knife that we have is a Karambit Autotronic, field tested. As you can see, it doesn't have a lot of scratches like most of the Autotronic knives. It doesn't really matter what condition you're gonna take it in. This knife costs around $450, which is, I guess, it's a bit overpriced, but it's a decent knife to play. The next knife that we have is probably one of the worst knives, I guess, they ever released on CSGO, which is a Navaya knife, Tiger Tooth, factory new, which costs around $80. So yeah, probably one of the cheapest skins in the collection. Yeah, we just bought that, or we just acquired that to get the full Tiger Tooth collection. The next one is a Bowie Knife, which we also got. It's a Bowie Knife Tiger Tooth, factory new, costs around $150. Decent knife, I guess. So the next knife that we have is a M9 Bayonet Tiger Tooth, factory new, which costs around $350. Has a great float. Yeah, very decent knife that you can play, especially if you want a Tiger Tooth. Alright guys, the next knife is a Huntsman. We got another Huntsman Tiger Tooth in the collection, so this is our second Huntsman Tiger Tooth, which costs around $120 as well. It's a factory new one. And yeah, the next knife that we have is a Bayonet Tiger Tooth. Like previously mentioned, this knife is great. I like the Bayonet a lot, and the Tiger Tooth looks very good on the Bayonet. And this one costs around $270 and factory new. So the next knife that we have is a Styletto Knife, which is a very good knife from the newer knives. I really like that skin. So now we have one of my favorite knives, I guess, the Butterfly Tiger Tooth, factory new, which costs around $550. Like I said, I really like the animation of the butterflies, and this is like one of the cheaper butterfly knives with a good skin on it. So definitely check the butterfly tiger tooth out if you're looking for butterflies. The second last knife that we have is a flip knife tiger tooth. Obviously shouldn't be missing in any tiger tooth collection. This one is factory and it costs you around $160. Decent knife, I guess, but I take the Crimson Web flip knife that we have in the collection over it. So the last knife that we have is a Karambit tiger tooth, which costs around $450 in factory new. This is a great knife in my opinion, especially with the tiger tooth skin on it. And yeah, so guys, this is the end of the skin showcase collection. Let me know your thoughts on the collection down below in the comments. Let me know which knives you like the most, which knives you don't like at all, and yeah, maybe talk about your knives in the comments, like which knife do you have, which knife do you like the most. Definitely like the video, subscribe to our channel for more CSGO videos, especially CSGO videos about skins, and check out CSGOHowl if you're interested in CSGO gambling. So that's it for the video. Gonna see you in the next one, guys. Thank you for watching and see ya.